Hey guys, Brian delivers you the goods here. I just thought I'd return to you this afternoon officially for another review for Demi Lovato's It's Not That Deep album that I got a chance to listen to. And this is one of the first releases that I'm listening to first, just to get it out of the way and see what I think of it. But I'll let you know what I thought of all 11 songs for this 32.5 minute runtime. So let's dive into this long-awaited studio album review from Demi Lovato. So it starts with the opening track, Fast, which is a pretty safe song, but it's pretty good in its own way. Um, I think with how Demi's singing it, for the most part, Demi Lovato singing it, it does very well. But the mixing in it with the bridge part, where it has the electronics and EDM kind of style to it, it really gets overplayed. It just gets, I wouldn't say poorly mixed, but in the middle with me with the mixture of the track. So it's still going to get a 4.75 out of 5. It's still a pretty good song. Just that bridge part I'm starting to get used to with the fat, 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 fat kind of thing that she does. And repetitiously does it with EDM and electronic stuff. So it overall sounds alright. So 4.75 out of 5. Then comes Here All Night, which is a pretty good song. I really enjoyed this one. The pop beat to it sounds pretty good. And how she's singing it sounds very strong in the chorus. So I really dig her vocals in this track. So this track really did work. It was one of my favorite singles. So probably the best single. And Fast was the second best. And then we'll talk about the last single she dropped later on in the review. So 5 out of 5 for Here All Night. Frequency is one of the regular songs on the record, and it is a pretty good track. I was trying to get used to it at first, but the fuck up the vibe thing was pretty cool in the track, where it repeats it, and it's like a good club dance music with the pop beat, so it's pretty cool. I really dig that style of it, and overall she does have regular vocals in this track, where her vocals really shine in this song. So it did very well. 5 out of 5. Let You Go is another one that I think is a pretty good song in its own way. I think some of the verses are solid, but the chorus is the highlight for sure. It has its moments where it kind of is fluctuating from really good to good, so, but it's overall a solid track. 4.75 out of 5. Sorry to Myself is a nice track. From what I listened to, has a nice beat, a nice good pop synth beat that really does work very well. But it overall executes in an alright way, so it's a 4.75 out of 5 for me for this one too. I think with how she sings it, it does very well, but there are some critiques I have with this track as you progress through it. But the fade at the end of the song, where it fades out and goes into this fade thing towards the end of it, it's pretty cool. So it's a 4.75 out of 5. Little Bit does have a lot of overproducing in this track, and the mixing is very overproduced at times, but it does pretty well. When the chorus comes in, it shines very well with Demi's singing. So I really dig this song in its own way. So it's another 4.75 out of 5. Pretty short and simple, but does very well for the execution in its own way. Say It does have some cringe moments with this track when the chorus comes in, but it overall is not a terrible song. It's a good song. It's probably the second least favorite of the record, but it's not one of the worst least favorites. Not like the song I'm going to talk about pretty soon. But it overall did good in its own way, so 4.5 out of 5 for Say It. The beat is pretty solid. It is a short song too, under 2.5 minutes. It's like 2 minutes and 29 seconds, but it does pretty well for the execution at times. In My Head is another one that I think is a good song. It has a nice pop beat that I can get on board with. And it overall is a good song. I mean, the chorus is not like the best highlight, but it's solid. So it's a 4.5 out of 5 for this one. Not a bad track. Then we get to the song Kiss. This track is a head shaker. I was trying to see if I could get a vibe with this track, but honestly, it is a letdown. I think when she sings the chorus and goes into the chorus at the intro of the song, I kiss for fun. It's fun to kiss. I use my tongue, la la la, like this. It kind of gets a little annoying. That it's very overproduced, and basically the verses are the solid aspect of the track, but the chorus is the letdown. So 2.75 out of 5 still. I'm just not feeling for this one. It is a little disappointing. Then we get to Before I Knew You, which is a pretty good song in its own way. I think this track did have a lot of nice moments with her singing Demi Lovato, and it did very well for the execution, so it's another 4.75 out of 5. I think with the beat and all that, it sounds good with the verses, and mostly the chorus is pretty strong too. So, yeah. And finally, we get to the closing track, Ghost, which is a 4-minute and 15-second track to close out this record. It does very well. It's probably one of my favorites. Her vocals sound pretty nice in this track, and it does shine and hit a range with Demi Lovato's singing. But it's the verses and chorus that I really love about this track, and just how it sounds overall. It's pretty nice. So, I mean, the ending is a little bit, a lot of like rewind electronic producing and mixing. It really does like this rewind or whatever, the last song. If you hear that in the song, you might know what I'm talking about when you listen to it at midnight. But it overall is a pretty strong track to close out the record. 5 out of 5. Overall, production, mixing, and execution wise, I think Demi Lovato, It's Not That Deep, is an average listen. It's not bad. I mean, it's not going to be like hands down one of my favorite records in her discography, not like The Artist Starting Over, or that Dance with the Devil, The Artist Starting Over album was probably my favorite from her. So was Holy Fuck. That was a good one. But with this one, I think it's average. I think she did rely on a lot of electronic music and pop synth music with this track. And it's not bad, but it's not like my go-to cup of tea kind of material that I'm used to. There are some songs I do enjoy from this record that are the takeaways. The only disappointing one was Kiss. But everything else has been pretty solid to pretty strong. So if I were to give it a score, I'm giving it a solid 7.5 out of 10. Not a bad record. I think when I heard Kiss, that was probably the least favorite, the very least favorite that really brought the rating down a lot more. And I would have given it a 7 out of 10, but considering that most of the songs did pretty well in their own way, I think it deserves a 7.5 out of 10. So 7.5 out of 10 for Demi Lovato, It's Not That Deep. I hope you enjoyed this album review that you've been waiting for this album. And with that being said, I gotta get to the next review after this. But until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next review.